There is a particular kind of story that journalists have long characterised as too good to check. The kind of yarn so perfectly delicious, so supernaturally succulent, that not even the most punctilious of reporters wants to be the person who picks up the phone to the informed and authoritative source who will tell them that it is, regrettably, bollocks. One such has circulated for decades about Sukarno, mono-named first president of Indonesia, who served from 1945 to 1967. Legend insists that during a visit to Moscow, the Soviets sought to construct compromat with which to coerce Sukarno into their corner as the Cold War crackled. A honey trap was set. A gaggle of young women dressed as flight attendants were dispatched to Sukarno's hotel room, and what subsequently transpired was recorded with hidden cameras. However, when the triumphant KGB spooks who'd conceived the operation showed Sukarno the tapes, he merely proclaimed himself delighted and asked for copies. All of which, true or not, is recalled by way of noting that the sex tape, as a political weapon, can be something of a double-edged sword. The people of Equatorial Guinea, and an exclusive but as of this week swiftly swelling international cohort who pay much attention to the politics of Equatorial Guinea, are presently agog at footage of the exertions of the head of the country's corruption watchdog, the National Financial Investigation Agency. Balthazar Ibang Ngonga, for it is he, is the star of hundreds of videos featuring himself and dozens of women putting his office desk to uses other than those which the manufacturer intended. Said videos are currently delighting African social media and pretty much writing the routines of African comedians and talk show hosts.
We need to talk about it. Everybody, including myself, is beyond gagged about this story because what?
Equatorial Guinea, right now, all the husbands are looking for the 400 videos. One man, 400 videos, 300 women.
We will, at this point, ask listeners to retreat from the edge of their seats somewhat while we fill in the context. Trust us, it will be worth it. Equatorial Guinea is a small country in West Africa, and a geopolitical oddity in that most of its territory is on the continent of Africa, wedged in between Cameroon and Gabon, but the capital city, Malabo, is on an island called Bioko in the Bight of Biafra, about 45 minutes away by air. Equatorial Guinea is hideously poor, but shouldn't be. It struck oil in the mid-90s and is now Africa's third largest producer thereof. However, Equatorial Guinea has been ruled since 1979 by President Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo, a tyrant, crook and lunatic who has installed as vice president his son, Teodoro Nguema Obiang Mange, who has clearly saved his meagre public sector wages very carefully. Usually known as Teodoran, the Vice President owns, or has owned, his stuff gets pretty frequently seized by the more humorless jurisdictions in which he prefers to spend his time, several Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Bugattis, Rolls-Royces and other rarefied conveyances, a bunch of mansions, a $120 million yacht, paintings by Degas and Renoir, and one of Michael Jackson's crystal-encrusted gloves. Teodoran is also his 82-year-old father's preferred successor, and here we may have arrived at what is actually occurring. President Obiang will obviously not be spared forever by God, even though Obiang claims that he and the Almighty are in regular and friendly contact. It may have occurred to Teodoran that a playboy who has spent a poor country's money on a garage full of svelte sports cars and a weirdo pop star's gilded mitten will have rivals for his father's job. Balthazar Ibang Ngonga was not merely a powerful official in his own right, and a nephew of President Obiang, but the scion of a well-connected family himself. His father, Balthazar Ngonga Edjo, is currently president of the Commission of the Economic and Monetary Community of Central Africa. If one considers the release of the sex tapes as the whacking of a competitor, it is pretty exemplary stuff. Ngonga is not merely disgraced, but beclowned. Who is to say, indeed, that had Shakespeare known of hidden cameras, laptops, the internet and smartphones, that Julius Caesar wouldn't have gone something like this? First, Ngonga was arrested on charges of embezzling state funds, even if getting arrested for corruption on the orders of Vice President Teodorin is like getting thrown out of a railway modelers club for being too keen on model railways. Then Ngonga is hauled off to Malibo's locally infamous Black Beach prison, another unmistakable gesture to anyone else who fancies their chances. Ngonga's computers are seized and the sex tapes begin leaking. Sex tapes in which, by way of sowing further chaos in enemy camps, Ngonga is accompanied by a startling number of wives of government ministers and senior military officers.
What?
There has been no suggestion that any of Ngonga's extracurricular activities were non-consensual. There will be some tricky Christmas dinners at the homes of Equatorial Guinea's elites. Inevitably, Teodorin has also sought to clamp down on social media in the ostensible interests of protecting the public from this decadent content. He may have been alarmed to discover that not all the discourse has been entirely unimpressed. In the meantime, Ngonga is awaiting trial and the vengeance of his embarrassed lovers, some of whom are suing, and is out of a job, as are reportedly several other officials accused of amusing themselves at work with similar recreations while they were supposed to be running the country. The generally parlous state of Equatorial Guinea's governance is beginning to make a certain amount of sense. For Monocle Radio, I'm Andrew Muller.